Hi, I'm Wendy with Nashville Restoration, and today we're going to do a basic white chalk paint on a coffee table. First, you need to clean your wood, and second, I sand a little bit of mine off. Even though you're not supposed to need to do that with chalk paint, I do it anyway because I just feel like it takes off more of the gook of the edges. So let's get started. For supplies, you will need a quart of chalk paint, some clear wax or finishing wax, 1 or 2 paint brushes. You can use one if you want to wash it out between the paint and the wax. You will need some rags and some sandpaper. If you need help deciding which chalk paint brand to buy, check out one of my other videos called Chalk Paint Brands Price Comparison. When you apply chalk paint, it's different than other paint, whereas regular painting you would go with the grain like this, all the way down. Chalk paint, any which way you want to go. Now there are chalk paint brushes that are round, and I have tried them, and my personal preference is this. I don't think it makes a difference on appearance. I think it's a matter of which brush you prefer. So you just want to get the paint on without any drips or big puddles of it. And it's that simple. Probably going to have to go over this again. You also have a lot of different choices for what type of chalk paint to use. I have a video on that compares the Annie Sloan and the kind of chalk paint you buy in Home Depot or Lowe's. And it also compares a homemade chalk paint, which is what this is. I like the homemade chalk paint for cost because it's substantially cheaper, like 75% or so cheaper to make your own chalk paint. So I always love a good deal, so I make my own chalk paint. On my channel I have a recipe up for chalk paint as well if you want to make your own. So I'm going to finish the rest of this off camera, and then we'll come back and basically do the same thing on another coat. If you're going to distress your furniture, this is how I recommend to do it. This crack where you can see there's very little paint in there, I did that intentionally because a lot of that paint I would be trying to distress out later anyway. So go light on those areas that you're going to distress, and it will save you a whole lot of time when you're distressing. If you're not distressing, just paint it just like we did on the top. All right, I let this dry for 2 hours. 2 hours is a good dry time in the sun. If you're inside, I would do 4 hours. So do a little bit on the second coat. These areas here that I'm going to distress, I'm not even going to put more paint on there because I'll just be sanding it off. So we're going to go just skip those all together. We're going to paint the second coat on just like we did the first coat. Just haphazardly painting, just no puddles or drips. I would go with a 2-hour drying time between all the coats if you're in the sun, and 4-hour drying time if you're inside. And if you wait longer, there's nothing bad about that either. Really, the drier the coats, the better off you are. So I'll do the rest of this off camera and come back for the next step. All right, the next step is clear wax. I make my own clear wax to save money. Well, to save money, and because I get the same results as with the store-bought clear wax. So you put this on just like the paint, any direction, You do not need much of this at all. It will go a long way. You can buy brushes made just to put on clear wax, but I've tried them and frankly I like this brush. This brush costs $6 and I like it much better than the $25 brush. It is a matter of preference. Since you're going to come back and sand if you're distressing, and at least come back and wipe this down, what brush you applied the wax with is just not going to make a difference. I think my wax brush cost about $25 and I would just rather do this. So I'm going to do the rest of the wax off camera, and we're going to come back and do a little bit of distressing. After you put your wax on, you do not have to let it dry. There's a crow out here. You do not have to let it dry, just wipe off any of the excess. I think the other good thing about making your own wax is that I know what's in this. It's non-toxic. You can make it out of mineral oil and white beeswax, and you know that it's non-toxic. So for pets, for children, it's a pretty good idea. I'm using a white rag on this table because if I use a colored rag, a lot of times some of the fabric will come off in the paint, and this is just easier to do. As soon as you wipe it down, and this wax has been on here for 10 minutes, and that is when you want to distress, when the wax is freshly on here, because that is when it's easy to distress. Once the wax is dry, you can still distress, but it will take a lot more effort to do it. It's going to come off pretty easy right now, but in a few hours that will not be the case. So you want to use, I'm using 150 grit sandpaper. You want to use between 120 and 180. And I just got mine wrapped around an old sanding sponge because it seems to be easier that way. But you can just use a sheet of sandpaper like this, fold it in half, and do it that way. So I'm going to distress this naturally, or I should say to look natural, like this table has just been painted and sitting around for 50 years like this. There's no real special trick. It's however you like it, whatever level of distressing you like. Some people like chalk paint with no distressing because they like the look, like the velvety look to it, and they like that you can paint over your furniture project without having to sand it down. So I'll do some more sanding on this and come back and show you the results. These are the results of our basic chalk paint table. I did use an electric sander on the top because I wanted to do a good deal of distressing, and it's just a lot easier if you have an electric sander to do that. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I enjoyed making it. If you have any suggestions for what videos you would like to see, please send me a message. And check out my other videos. I have a lot of videos on chalk paint, furniture restoration, tips, tricks, and comparisons for furniture and home. Please don't forget to like and subscribe and check back often. I put up new videos all the time. Thank you.